the February 5th, 2020 meeting of the Monroe County Board of Zoning Appeals. Larry, would you call roll?
Barbara Clemens.
Here.
Bertie Caritas.
Here.
William Hosea.
Here.
Mary Beth Marchek.
Here.
And did I pronounce that correctly?
Absolutely.
Okay. We have to check, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
You want to introduce the evidence?
Yes. I request that the following items be introduced into evidence for tonight's meeting. The Monroe County Comprehensive Plan is adopted and amended. Monroe County Zoning Ordinance is adopted and amended. Monroe County Subdivision Ordinance is adopted and amended. The rules of procedure of the Board of Zoning Appeals of Monroe County, and the case is advertised and docketed for hearing on tonight's agenda.
I move that we approve the evidence.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I move that we approve tonight's agenda as listed and posted.
Second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I've reviewed the minutes of the January 8th meeting, and if everyone is in accordance, I move that we approve the minutes of the January 8th meeting.
I second the motion. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We do have a new member tonight. We'd like to welcome William Hosea to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And at this time, I would ask that the president do the oath of office. Do you have a copy of that?
I do not.
Okay.
You just don't carry that around with you.
I don't.
Crazy.
I don't even remember who swore me.
As we say here at the Board of Zoning Appeals, it's not just the money, it's the prestige.
Yes, absolutely. Do I just read it?
That's fine.
I, William Hosea, do solemnly swear that I will support.
Or have Mr. Hosea read it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's, yeah.
I was wondering about that.
It didn't count, I'm not.
I, William Hosea, do solemnly swear that I will support the constitutions of the United States of America and of the state of Indiana, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform my duties as a Monroe County Board of Zoning Appeals member, according to the law and to the best of my skill and ability. Dated this 5th day of February, 2020.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Did you sign it?
I did.
Okay, great. I'll give this back to Larry. I'll take it over there.
All right. Okay, that's all out of the way. I understand that the old business has been continued. Is that correct?
That's
Comments?
correct.
Okay, so we'll move right on to new business, and that is going to be, sorry.
It's okay.
The first variance is case number 1912-VAR-72, Cummins version 2 buildable area variance to chapter 804. Nope, I'm sorry, I read the wrong one. I'm sorry. Okay, new business. That's 1912-VAR-75 Unionville Elementary Digital Sign Variance from chapters 807.
Thank you, Mary Beth. So the petitioner is requesting a design standard variance from chapter 807-6B2 of the Monroe County Zoning Ordinance. The variance is requested to allow for a changeable copy sign. The petition site is located in Benton South Township, Section 9 at 8144 East State Road 45. The petition site is zoned institutional/public, designated in Chapter 833. The site is also located within the Environmental Constraints Overlay Area 3 due to its proximity to the Lake Monroe watershed. Adjacent properties are zoned estate residential, agricultural, rural reserve, and suburban residential. The petition site currently holds the 50,000 square foot school building, constructed in 1962, and a freestanding canopy shelter house constructed in 2016. The property is accessed from two driveways off of East State Road 45, a designated major collector. The site has access to water and utilizes a commercial septic system. There are no known karst features or FEMA floodplain. Slopes greater than 15% are present across the site, specifically at the southwest corner of the property as shown on the maps below. The comprehensive plan designates the petition site as rural residential. So this is a pictometry image. So the site is currently has a grandfathered wall sign. It could have a maximum sign area of 60 square feet for a ground sign per the institutional public zoning of Chapter 807. Due to the location and the proximity to State Road 45 right-of-way, the school has few locations where a sign could be placed that would be visible to 45 traffic. So in the photo on the screen, the red square is the current wall sign, and the yellow square is where they're proposing to place the sign. Location is not a factor necessarily of this variance. So because they've chosen to pursue a sign that's not visible from the road, they're eliminating any kind of right-of-way or visibility, any kind of Safeway concerns along 45. The proposed sign location would be visible from the student drop-off area at the school main entrance located on the south side of the western parking lot. So a changeable copy sign allows for the manual changing of manual or digital change of multiple lines of text. The purpose of the proposed sign is to allow the school the ability to inform students, parents, and other community residents about activities and/or event changes related to the Unionville Elementary School. Approval of the variance would allow for the Unionville Elementary School to erect a sign containing changeable copy text. The image on the upper left of the screen is an example of something that might be proposed. If the variance is approved, they still will follow the sign permit application process. So staff recommends approval of the design standard variance to the changeable copy restriction of Chapter 807 based on the findings of fact, specifically C, practical difficulties. The petitioner, Unionville Elementary School, is seeking a way to inform students, parents, and residents of current events, and changeable copy signs are strictly prohibited, and this would be the minimum variance required in order to do so. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
I've got a quick question. And staff report, page 29, it says that the petitioners have chosen to pursue a sign that is not visible from the road. Therefore, they are eliminating any right-of-way or safety concerns.
Yes, there are.
Okay, it says not. That's why I just wanted to confirm that
Oh, yeah.
they
so
are
it is-
eliminating those concerns.
They are.
Okay, great, thanks.
All right. Any further questions from staff, for staff? Okay, would the petitioner like to speak? You don't have to if you don't want to. Okay, all right. Would anybody here like to speak on behalf of the petition? Seeing none, would anybody like to speak against the petition? Seeing none,
I'd like to just ask a question of staff at this point. I thought there might be a little bit more discussion in the agricultural rural reserve area with changeable type sign. Can you tell me the motivation for prohibiting that in the past?
So it's actually, this petition site's located in the institutional or public zoning. Generally changeable copy text on a sign is prohibited throughout the county. So anytime we have that, it's either grandfathered or it's received a variance.
And how would this impact applications for further changeable copy signs in the future to our county?
Variances are supposed to be a unique situation, and I think the uniqueness of this current petition is that it is a Unionville Elementary School. It is a Monroe County school corporation. Because there is no setback, there's not enough room to have a sign out front. Maybe, maybe other opportunities are missed.
A variance is really a petition for relief from a certain aspect of the ordinance based upon the conditions of a particular lot or parcel. It's not a general waiver of the ordinance, so there's no precedent as far as someone else coming in the future and saying, you gave a variance to this school, therefore I should have a variance. Right now, the changeable copy prohibition applies throughout the county. It's a part of the sign ordinance, primarily based upon concern in regard to distraction of drivers, visibility, as well as just aesthetics. Those are the major two reasons. I'm fairly certain this will come up as we update the zoning ordinance, whether or not we need to perhaps change our standards somewhat, but yet still avoid digital signs that might cause a distraction.
I may not have made that very clear in the report, as location is not necessarily dependent on approval, but it was a factor. We know it's not going to be anywhere near the road. And actually, I received a call today of somebody inquiring about the petition, and all they wanted to know whether there was going to be light shining into their house across the road. And as soon as they heard that it wouldn't be near it, they were like so happy. They were fine.
24 hours a day, the changeable?
I'm unsure. It could be a manual changeable copy text, or it could be a digital. Would you like to see the last slide? It's where the number 4 in the red circle is on the upper right screen. That's the location, so it's in that hill on the south side. That green space actually is sloping downward. So they're really, and the structure you can see on the left side of that picture, that's a garage, and there's a church adjacent to the property. So I don't predict that illumination would be too much of a problem or hassle for anyone nearby.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're ready to make a motion?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Matter of case number 1912-VAR-75, design standards variance, changeable copy, section 807-6, parentheses B, parentheses 2, based on the staff report and the findings found in it and the recommended motion by staff, I move that we approve the variance.
I second the motion.
Okay. The vote is on petition 1912-VAR-75, Unionville Elementary digital sign. A yes vote is a vote in favor of granting the variance to allow a digital sign based upon the findings. Margaret Clemens?
Yes.
Bertie Garitas?
Yes.
William Hosea?
Yes.
Mary Beth Komarczyk?
Yes.
The variance is approved 4-0.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have case number 1912-VAR-76. Drew?
Thank you. So this is case number 1912-VAR-76, Rodney and Joni Fry variance. To start off, we have some summary and background here of the petition. The petitioner requests a design standards variance from the front yard setback requirement of Chapter 804 for the purposes of constructing a 24-foot by 30-foot pole barn, storage pole barn. The proposed pole storage barn will be located approximately 22 feet inside the 25-foot required front yard setback. The proposed pole barn will be required to meet all other design standards and building codes. The majority of the site exhibits slopes greater than 15%. And that's part of the reason why they selected to put it here. There were no other suitable locations that were not in the steep slopes other than inside the front yard setback. The front setback is measured from right-of-way, and the proposed storage pole barn will be located very close to the southwestern property line, encroaching approximately 22 feet into that 25-foot setback, as I've stated before. Some of the background here, they originally came in with an application for a pole-constructed accessory building with the Monroe County Building Department. And then upon the review of the application, planning staff determined that the proposed location of the structure would be located in that front yard setback and would require a variance. According to the petitioner, the location of the proposed pole storage barn was selected as it is the only suitable area remaining on the property that does not exhibit slopes greater than 15%. So the petition site is located at 6491 East Cox Drive in Section 17 of Benton Township. The petition site is zoned suburban residential along with the adjoining Danny Smith Addition properties, and is also located in Area 3 of the Environmental Constraints Overlay. The majority of the area is suburban residential or conservation residential, and the current use is single-family residential use. Some of the site conditions, the site is 1.89 acres and is accessed off of East Cox Drive, a local road. The primary residence utilizes sewer and water. There are no karst features visible on the lot. FEMA floodplain is not located on the property. And as you can see here by the slope map, most of the property is within that 15% constraint on slopes. The entire property is also in the Area 3 of the Environmental Constraints Overlay, which has a restriction on land disturbances and vegetation removal slopes greater than 18%. Drainage on the site runs northeast and southwest into a ravine that extends through the middle of the property. You can see that kind of that convergence in the middle there. The comprehensive plan has it designated as rural residential. And now here we have some site photos of the property. The top left photograph is facing north. It's the view of the driveway cut and the fence line along East Cox Drive. And the bottom right photograph is the opposite view looking south of the same fence line and driveway cut. A few more pictures here. Looking at the fence line and the existing home, as well as the detached garage. The top left photograph is facing north. That's a view of the right-of-way and tree line along East Cox Drive. And then the bottom right photograph is facing east, view of the fence line along East Cox Drive. And now we're kind of looking at the area where the proposed structure will go, and that is on the south side of the home and the south side of the property. Some more pictures here of that kind of site. And in the bottom right photograph, you can see that the grade starts to go down pretty quickly into that ravine that was on the slope map. Here's some more photographs. Aerial pictometry in the bottom right. Here we have the petitioner's statement and their site plan. These two items can be found in your packet. The site plan to the bottom right shows, I can't really see it on here, but there is a proposed location of the pole barn structure, and that does reside in the setback area, and that's why we're here today. Some more construction items here. So overall, staff recommends approval of the front yard setback requirement to Chapter 804 based on the findings of fact and subject to the Monroe County Highway Department and Stormwater Engineer reports. I will now take any questions.
Any questions?
I've got a quick question. So Drew, are they proposing to put it right down here in this corner? Am I seeing that? It's hard to see on this drawing.
Yeah, if you're looking at this bottom right photograph, there's a black square towards that southern corner of the southern parcel. I will say that these lots are combined They appear as two separate lots, but they are combined.
So are they proposing to put the structure right up on the right-of-way, or is there a distance that they're going to try to stay off of the right-of-way?
We can certainly condition something with that kind of specificity, but in that site plan that they have, it doesn't show exactly how far away from the right-of-way line or the property line that they plan on putting the structure. That's why in the staff report it's approximately 22 feet in the 25-foot setback. So we can certainly say something about making sure that it's not right up on the line if you feel that that's necessary.
So is the dark line, is that the right-of-way, or is that's the right-of-way, correct? The dark line, the arc?
The drawn on the site plan is the structure, but the darkened line that goes around, those are the property lines.
Okay.
And the property line should end up right along that where the right-of-way dedication is.
So then that is a right-of-way, that line, the property line is the same thing as the right-of-way?
The edge of the
Yes.
dedication, correct.
Okay.
I believe in the packet there's a copy of the plat, the subdivision plat, and in that it should have that right-of-way dedication shown. It might be a little small to see, but
That's a little small. Not really able to see that. Do you know which lot number it is?
yes, I believe it is lot numbers 29 and 30.
Okay.
Any other questions of staff?
I don't have any.
Would the petitioner like to speak? Okay. Would anybody like to speak on behalf of the petition? Seeing none, would anybody like to speak against the petition? Seeing none, I can call for a motion.
I'm gonna
can do
get
it.
better at this, I promise.
Do you want me to do it, or you want to do it?
You could do it because of that, the insertion of that statement about,
Okay, in the matter of case number 1912, VAR-76. Design standards variance, chapter 804, front yard setback at 6491 East Cox Drive. Danny Smith additions, lots 29 and 30. I move that we approve the variance with the added condition that the building permit be accompanied by a exhibit prepared by a professional land surveyor illustrating that the structure will not be located onto the county's right-of-way in Danny Smith addition, and that if it does fall within the 15% slope, that staff will give a recommendation whether that's de minimis or not.
I second that motion.
Please call the roll, Larry.
Okay. The vote is on petition 1912-VAR-76, Fry front yard setback. A vote in favor is a vote to grant the variance subject to the, based upon the findings and with the additional condition that an exhibit be prepared by a licensed land surveyor showing that the proposed building is outside of the county right-of-way. This would occur at the time of the building permit application. Okay. Bernie Garitas?
Yes.
William Hosea?
Yes.
Mary Beth Kamarchek?
Yes.
Margaret Clemens?
Yes.
The variance is granted 4-0.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have case number 1912-VAR-77. Rebecca?
Good evening. So this petition is for a, it's tiny, a rear yard setback from chapter 833. This is a 1 acre parcel in Perry Township, section 14. And the petitioner is requesting a design standard variance from chapter 833 for the rear yard setback requirement. The purpose of the request is to build a 16-foot by 22-foot addition to include a 3rd bedroom and an additional bathroom and laundry facility. The existing single-family dwelling is currently encroaching 18.2 feet into the rear yard setback, and the petition site does meet all other design standards and complies with other required setbacks. So a little more summary here. The petition site is located within the Estate Residential 1 zone, which requires a 50-foot rear yard setback. The petition site is 0.33 acres, which is smaller than the required 1 acre for the zone. However, the provision in chapter 833 allows for reduced side yard setbacks for lots that were in existence prior to 1997. And since the home is currently encroaching into the rear setback, a variance is needed to expand the home. The house was originally built as a 2-bedroom home with only 1 bathroom and no laundry facilities. The existing single-family dwelling is located 31.8 feet from the rear property line, which again is an 18.2-foot encroachment into the rear yard setback. The proposed addition will be on the southeast side of the home and will comply with all required setbacks. The rear setback variance is being triggered again because the petitioner requests to expand the home, which is located currently within the rear yard setback. The site is located at 3850 South Snoddy Road in section 14 of Perry Township. The petition site is zoned Estate Residential 1. The surrounding properties are zoned Estate Residential and Estate Residential 2.5. The current use of the property is residential, and most of the surrounding uses are also residential. Directly south and adjacent to the property is a religious facility, which is the Mount Calvary Baptist Church. The site has frontage and access on South Snoddy Road, which is classified as a minor collector by the thoroughfare plan. The rear property line of the site abuts the parking lot of Mount Calvary Baptist Church, which is the petitioner's neighbor to the south. There are no karst features apparent on the site. FEMA floodplain is not located on the site. The site does not reside in an environmental constraint overlay, and drainage of the site is predominantly to the south and west. There are no slope restrictions on the site. The site is designated Makua Suburban Residential in the Monroe County Comprehensive Plan. Here are some site photos. Photo number 1, we are looking at the rear of the house. I'll pause a minute. So we're looking at the rear of the house where a 50-foot setback is required based on current zoning. However, it's currently situated only 31.8 feet. Photo number 2 is this side yard, which is actually on the south side of the house. And it's, I'm trying to indicate here where the proposed addition is going to go. So it's essentially on the southeast corner of the house. So the rear yard is the west side of this property. Photo number 3 is just showing that this is a single-family dwelling with a detached garage. Photo number 4, showing property is accessed off of South Snotty Road. And again, this is another picture of the southwest corner of the house where the addition is planned. Here is the petitioner, a statement from the petitioner, which is included in your packet. And according to the petitioner, the addition of a 3rd bedroom with bath and laundry will make the home much more functionally livable. The proposed addition, again, will be on the southeast side of the home and will comply with all required setbacks. Staff recommends approval of rear yard setback requirements to Chapter 833 based on the findings of fact. Are there any questions?
I have none.
No questions for staff? Would the petitioner like to speak?
I've got nothing to add, that pretty well sums it up.
Okay, you don't have to.
I could say one thing, I guess. From what I understand, one of the findings is...
Sir, if you wish to speak, you're going to have to step to the podium and sign in and be sworn in.
I'm Richard Stumpner, I'm the property owner.
Could you sign in there?
I will.
Could you raise your right hand, please?
Oh, I will.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks. So all I wanted to add, one of the findings in here in the packet is that the existing single-family residence was built prior to the current Monroe County zoning setback standards. So that 50-foot setback did not exist when it was built, so
Yes, sir.
for what it's worth.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else wish to speak on behalf of the petition? Seeing none, anyone wish to speak against the petition? Seeing none, I call for a motion.
In the matter of case number 1912-VAR-77, I recommend approval of rear yard setback requirements to Chapter 833 based on the findings of fact.
I second that motion. Call roll, please.
Just to clarify, the reason we have a variance in this case is because the addition actually doesn't further increase the nonconformity, but the house itself is nonconforming. So when you add on to it, you need to get a variance in order to increase the size of a nonconforming structure. So that's what this variance is for. And again, a yes vote is a vote to approve the variance on 1912-VR-77, Sumter rear yard setback. William Hosea,
Yes.
Mary Beth Marchek,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens.
Yes.
Bernie Garritas.
Yes.
Variance number 1912-VR-77 is approved based upon the findings.
Thank you so much. You have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have case number 200-VAR-01 and 2001-VAR-02. Tammy?
Okay. So this site is located at 6130 North Bottom Road. That's in Washington Township, Section 29. It's currently, well, let's see, the comprehensive plan has it as farm and forest, and the zoning is ag rural reserve. While we're here on the zoning page, I'll have you take a look at the shape of this lot. We're basically calling this a flag lot. The pole, which is the narrow portion that abuts the road, is 150 feet in width at that point, and the ag rural reserve zone requires a 200-foot lot width. This is a conforming lot, and that there is, farther to the east on this lot in the flag portion, that is, more than 200 feet. However, You'll see in the site condition plans that there is some steep, like bluff-like slopes, and also that area tends to flood. We are really pretty close to the FEMA floodplain. This is North Bottom Road, and as you know, Bottom Road is in the bottomlands, does tend to flood in places. So this is just at the cusp of that area. And so we're here basically to ask for a minimum lot width variance and also a buildable area variance to allow for that like development to occur in the pole of a flag lot. So these are the site conditions, and you can see in red, those are the slopes that are greater than 15%, and in some cases, those are pretty extremely steep. This is kind of zoomed in more on the pole part of the lot. There is an existing home from 2005 that was built here. It is non-conforming, and so should these variances be approved, we would also be bringing this house up into conformity and the other sheds that are on the lot as well. These are a couple of the site visit photos. The upper photo is the petitioner's home. The bottom one is also the home, and there's a black truck kind of in the photo, and that's roughly where they're proposing to put a pole barn that's 30 by 40, and that would be where they will probably park and do some residential storage. The garage that's currently attached to the home, they're converting into a bedroom and a bathroom to allow for another family member to live with them. The upper picture is the front yard, and this is where the septic system is located. There were a lot of flags out on site when I was there, and there is negotiations with Monroe County Highway Department right now to obtain right-of-way and part of that drainage ditch. They're going to be doing some road improvements as depicted in Exhibit 3. So you know, they actually looked really carefully at where the septic system was during that to make sure they didn't take in any of the septic system, so we know pretty well where that was located, and it's not going to be a part of that project. This is an aerial view of the site. And I will say that we had a neighbor to the south. He called in just curious about the drainage impacts and making sure that it was up and out of any flooding areas, which we have confirmed. And then the neighbor to the north, I just heard from today. We had a phone conversation, and the result was he sent in a letter, which you should have received at the beginning of the meeting with the title Monroe on the top there. So he had, you know, a bit of remonstrance that he wanted to air and make you aware of some of the situations out there. The petitioner's letter is in the packet, as well as their site plan. And I will say that site plan, the petitioner did a nice job of including that proposed right-of-way taking and showing that he's meeting the front setback from that right-of-way that's currently being proposed. So his new structure would meet all other buildable area standards except for the minimum lot width and then the building in the pole of a flag lot. I don't think this is my slide. Sorry. Okay. And then finally, Exhibit 3. This was just something I grabbed out of the Highway Department that does kind of depict the petitioner's driveway in yellow. The pink will be the right-of-way, and then there is this blue ditching that goes through there. So just kind of giving a whole picture. So something that changed from the staff packet is not on this slide. Staff recommends approval of both the minimum lot width and the buildable area requirements to Chapter 804 based on the findings of facts with the following conditions. So we have added a condition after conversations we've had with neighbors, and that we feel that they need to submit a building permit application for an existing accessory structure that's on site. So we don't think it has a permit. We just want to make sure that it clearly does have one going forward in the future and meets setback requirements. And if it doesn't, then they need to relocate that, you know, off the property line appropriately. And then by approving these variances, that would allow for the house to be conforming, the proposed garage, and then this accessory structure all be conforming. All right. Any questions?
No questions for staff? Okay, would the petitioner like to speak?
Can I speak in reference to whatever letter that happened?
You sign in, please. Could you raise your hand and state your name?
Nathan Monroe.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the letter that I guess was received was news to me today. Is there a chance I can know what's in the letter? Is that, I don't,
I'll read it. Oh, or you could just let it, either way.
I mean, it's a matter of the record, okay, and you should know.
I would
The
like-
person is screwing up the drainage for about a 500-acre watershed. I've called the EPA and the state vet's office as they distribute their butchering off alls on. Is not let their dogs carry them all over the neighborhood. They are letting manure lace water into the watershed also. They are at the point where all neighbors want them to move. She thinks rules only apply to everyone else, not them. They will trick some maid dogs to them and then shoot or call animal control. They just don't understand or want to know what being a neighbor is in the country. I would appreciate voting against this petition. So-
okay. Well, so there's history with the neighbors. In the past, my wife was called as what was the word? A witness for the county against their family. And since then, we've been hated. And so I'm thank you for letting me know what's in the letter. I get none of it. I don't see how it's really relevant to any of this. So I guess it's.
Well, I just would like to know, are you butchering on the property?
We raise American guinea hogs for family consumption, and they did call the State Board of Animal Health on us that we were running an illegal butcher shop, and we met with the gentleman from Indianapolis. We do not run an illegal butcher shop. We raise animals for ourselves. It's an illegal butcher shop if you raise animals to sell to other people. We don't sell food. We raise our own food. That's so they did not like that we do that. That
That is
was
a permitted activity, correct, Tammy?
Yeah,
In
essentially
ag-
livestock is permitted, and if it's for your self-consumption, for
Yes.
consumption with your family only.
yeah. And the gentleman came out and he said we were 100% within our legal rights to do our business as we did, and that's not an issue.
And just to ask you about all of the issues in the letter, are you attracting neighborhood animals to your property in order to,
So we also raise chickens.
yes?
And some of the issues that's happened was the neighbor dogs would come and eat our chickens. And it's illegal for the dogs to roam. And we have our chickens we've created fencing to keep them in the back of the property. The dogs don't listen to all that fencing, and they go around all of it. And that's where the big problem with feud, if you will, between our families has happened. They viewed us as baiting their dogs with chickens somehow. Chickens are chickens. They run around and do their thing. And their dogs came and ate our chickens. We called the animal control, trying to get, it wasn't initially, we didn't initially call animal control. We tried to work with the dog owners, like, please keep your dog at home. This is not the right thing to do. About 4 times in, over 40 chickens in, we began, okay, well, if you don't want to work it, then we will work it through the law. And that's kind of where this road got down this road.
Is there anything that you can think that you could do to improve the situation with your neighbor?
We've really tried to improve the situation with the neighbor. Their tree fell on our barn. We didn't, we could have went after them and had them. We didn't. We just fixed the barn. It's been silent. We haven't had any issues in probably 2 years, to my knowledge, that we've had any issues with.
Well, these are all
Our fence, yeah, we built the whole way between them and us, a fence all the way down to mitigate the animals interaction. So
Okay.
their dogs stay away from our chickens stay away from view.
And this isn't what's really on the table today. I'm just asking because a
ma'am.
letter was submitted and I just want to honor the letter and the public input,
Yes.
but it's not the subject of the case. And I have no further questions for Mr. Monroe. Does anyone else?
Just to clarify, there's no use issue with the property with staff, is that correct?
Correct. And when I
Okay.
was there, I saw just a dozen chicken, guinea
Right.
fowl, and duck kind of combo.
There's
No
been
offense.
more than 20 instances where they've called animal control on us, and we have never received any tickets. We've received citations. They come out and just say, hey, we've been here because we received a complaint call.
I'm
sorry.
That's why I asked that question.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here who would like to speak on behalf of the petition? Seeing none, would anybody here like to speak against the petition? Seeing none, I will call for a motion.
Well, in the matter of case number 2001 VAR-01 and 2001 VAR-02, I recommend that we approve both the minimum lot width and buildable area requirements to Chapter 804 based on the findings of fact and subject to the submission of a building permit application for the existing accessory structure.
I second that motion.
The votes are on both petition number 2001 VAR-01, the Monroe minimum lot width variance, and 2001-VAR-02, the Monroe buildable area variance.
Is it with the condition of approval?
Yes.
Subject to the condition of approval that a building permit application be submitted for the existing accessory structure.
Okay.
Again, a vote in favor is a vote to grant both variances. Mary Beth Camarcha,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens,
Yes.
Bernie Garitas.
Yes.
William Hosea.
Yes.
The variances are approved 4-0.
Thank you so much. And I hope things work out between you and the neighbors.
Thank you.
Okay, the next case is case number 200-VAR-03-05 in 2000-VAR-04 and 2000-VAR-05. Ann?
Thank you. Okay, so the petitioner is requesting 3 design standards in order to further develop a 1.9 acre lot with a 24 by 24 detached garage that has an attached uncovered elevated porch that's 8 by 24 that's located within unbuildable area, slopes greater than 15%, and slopes greater than 18% because they're also located in Eco 3 overlay. The lot size is also under the minimum for the zone. So the petition site, lot, and structures are pre-existing non-conforming, rendering them grandfathered until a change is requested. So the minimum lot size variance is the minimum variance required to further develop the lot. The second design standard variance is from the 15%, the buildable area from Chapter 804. And the third design standard variance is from Chapter 825 of the Eco Area 3 18% slope restriction. So the petition site is located in Salt Creek Township at 644 East Bender Road and is unplatted. The petition site and adjacent properties are all used residentially. They're zoned forest reserve and also environmental constraints overlay area 3. The comprehensive plan identifies this area as rural residential. So the site contains a 1,700 square foot home built in 1960 and a 320 square foot car shed built in 1978 per the property report card. The petition site has access to water and utilizes a septic system. It's accessed off of East Bender Road, a designated local road. Drainage from the existing structures run towards the west and or the east to existing large ravines. So because it's located within the Eco Area 3 and it consists of mainly slopes over 15%, it makes further development difficult. The proposed location of the carport is located partially within non-buildable area, 15%, and Eco 3, 18%. So the minimum lot size variance, so it's zoned forest reserve, which has a minimum lot size requirement of 5 acres. Within a square mile of the petitioner, there are 7 other parcels that do not meet the forest reserve minimum lot requirement. Okay, so this is a pictometry image of the petition site. The home built in 1960. The car shed is really not visible. This is an image from after you pull into your driveway. Directly in front of you is where you would be looking at the entrance of the proposed carport. Pictometry image does show a large evergreen in that location over where the carport would be proposed, but the petitioners state that that tree was removed years ago due to deterioration. Just a closer view, pretty much where that undergrowth, that shrubs are, would be the location of the carport. So this is the car shed. The petitioners do say that the car shed was originally built in the 1920s. It's not particularly unusual for a property report card to have an error with the date of a building. So the petitioners have explored other locations and possibly expanding this existing car shed, but found that its structural condition and location would not be physically or financially a viable option. As you can see, the car shed's already located over slope. It has a wooden floor and a fairly old foundation. So on the image to the left on the screen is a not to scale or not to perspective yellow square, which is just roughly where the proposed carport would be. On the right is the submitted site plan. These are the drawings of the proposed carport. The petitioners have informed me that they have altered the design in the meantime, and I believe they can discuss that with you after. So the recommended motion is to approve all 3 design standard variances, minimum lot size variance, buildable area variance, both the Chapter 804 and the Eco Area 3 restriction of 825, based on the findings of fact with the following condition, which is to submit a site plan showing detailed property setbacks, septic location, and the location and erosion prevention and control measures. So we found that it seems to be a really appropriate area if they would like to further develop the lot, but we do want to make sure that erosion control and prevention is put into place, and we would like to see a more detailed site plan. Does anybody have questions?
I have none. No questions for staff? Would the petitioner like to speak? Please state your name, sir.
Christian Freitag.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I only wish to speak to the site plan change that was mentioned by Ann. The one point in the findings of fact that she made in your materials on page 117, I believe it was the only point of the findings of fact that raised a question or a concern. And specifically, it states that the elevated porch, which is what we had planned to build, or hoped to build, I should say, on the back of the carport, or the proposed carport, the elevated porch attached to the proposed carport may negatively affect soil stabilizing vegetation by blocking sunlight. We've removed that from the plan. We don't have any intention of building, and in fact, we decided to do it because we couldn't afford it, not because of this. But that's been taken out of the plan. That's the main thing.
So there's not going to be the deck on the back of the,
That's correct.
back of the carport.
Yep.
Oh, then you answered my question before I ask it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
If I could make a note, With that statement, if we move forward and approve the plans, and I would need to receive, since I am holding your building permit, I would need to see the plans updated without the porch. Okay.
We have our builders here with us tonight, and I'm sure they're taking note of that.
Okay, just so that you know, with the variance, if it was approved with a porch, you know, it would be that for that size or smaller. If you say there's no porch in this setting, I would imagine we would expect to see updated plans.
Okay, but that would not require a new variance of that?
No.
Correct, okay, makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on behalf of this petition? Sir? Are you going to sign in for us? State your name, raise your right hand.
Monroe.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I sure do.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. I just wanted to make one point about the steep slope that's described on the area where the carport's being built. That area is artificial slope. It's just uncompacted fill, and you know, it's hard to see from the pictures that were shown, but the original slope that runs through there was much gentler. So where we're building will actually be stabilizing an area that's really just a mound of dirt. And you can see that on the LiDAR images that where the steep slope happens. But I just want to point out that if it were in its original condition, the slope would have been much less. And at the end of the day, and we will, of course, submit plans with the erosion control measures, but we'll be stabilizing what's currently sort of a problem slope.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else wish to speak on behalf of the petition? Seeing none, does anyone wish to speak against the petition? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
Okay, then, I'll give this one a try. In the matter of the three design standard variations, 2001 variance 03, minimum lot size variance to chapter 804, variance 04, buildable area variance to chapter 804, and variance 05, eco area 3, 18% restriction to 825. And we'd like the builder and the petitioner to submit a site plan showing the detailed property setbacks, septic location, and the location and erosion prevention and control measures. So that's, in other words, the stormwater pollution and prevention plan. And I move that we approve this subject to that condition.
Can we subject it to the deck not being part of the garage, part of the carport as well?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Let's put, yeah, subject to.
The friendly amendment.
The friendly amendment, yes.
Yes.
Just the carport, not the deck. And I'll second the motion.
I'll call the roll now. The vote is on petitions number 2001-VRH-03, 04, and 05. The Freitag minimum lot size variance, buildable area variance, and eco area 3, 18% slope restriction variance, respectively. Vote in favor is a vote to approve all three variances, subject to the condition that a site plan be submitted showing a detailed property setbacks, septic location, and the location of erosion and prevention measures. The also that it's conditioned upon the request for the deck being removed. Again, a vote in favor is a vote to approve all three variances. Margaret Clemens?
Yes.
Rudy Garitas?
Yes.
William Hosea?
Yes.
Mary Beth Camarcha?
Yes.
All three variances are granted.
Thank you. And next up, we have case number 2001-VAR-06. Take it away, Drew.
Thank you. So this is the gray minimum lot width variance from chapter 804. A little bit of summary and background here. The petitioner requests a design standards variance for the minimum lot width requirement of Chapter 804 for the purposes of constructing a 30 by 40 pole barn / detached garage. The pole barn / detached garage will be located in an area where the lot width measures 125 feet. According to Chapter 804 of the Monroe County Zoning Ordinance, parcels in the Ag RR zoning district must have a minimum lot width of 200 feet at building line. The proposed pole barn / detached garage will be required to meet all other design standards and building code, including setbacks, open space requirements, and buildable area. Originally, the petitioner submitted a pole-constructed accessory building application to the Monroe County Building Department for the addition of the 30 by 40 pole barn / detached garage with plumbing and electricity. Upon review of the application, staff determined that that location of the structure would be in an area of the lot that does not meet the minimum lot width and would require a variance. According to the petitioner, the location of the proposed pole barn / detached garage was selected to be in close proximity to the home and driveway for easy access. So the property is located at 7892 North Red Hill Road in Section 28 of Bean Blossom Township. The site is zoned Agricultural Rural Reserve, and the surrounding properties are also zoned Agricultural Rural Reserve. The current use of the property is residential, and most of the surrounding uses are residential or agricultural. Here we have a site conditions map. The site currently contains a 1,254 square foot home, and the small shed that can be viewed on the available aerial imagery here has since been removed. The site has frontage and access on North Red Hill Road. The site utilizes a septic system that is located in the front yard and will not be impacted by the location of this proposed structure. There does appear to be a cars feature present on the southwest corner of the lot, and another cars feature is present on the neighboring property to the south, approximately 25 feet from the shared property line. FEMA floodplain is not present on the property, and there are minimal locations on the property where slopes are greater than 15%, as you can see on the slope map here. Those red areas are the 15% or more, and none of those slopes will be disturbed for the placement of this proposed structure. Drainage on the site runs to the northeast and is also to the west from a high point where the existing home is located. Comprehensive plan has this site designated as rural residential. And now here we have some photographs of the property. These two are of the driveway cut and access along North Red Hill Road. And this is up along the driveway. You can see the existing home here. And now this is at the end of the driveway, and you can kind of see the stakes where they have proposed the structure to be placed. Some more photographs here. The bottom right is a better image of those stakes that you can kind of see in the foreground of that proposed structure. And this is going across the yard here, and another angle of where that proposed structure will be placed. And some more photographs here of the backyard and that south property line where you can see the trees. That's that bottom right photograph. And now here we have an aerial imagery. You can see the existing home, and right about to the south, you're looking south from this perspective. So to the south of the RV or camper, that's about where the location will be for the detached garage / pole barn structure. Here we have the petitioner's statement. This is in your packet. And now we have some site plan and construction plans here. You can see the close proximity that the new structure will have to the home, and the septic field is in the front yard, so it will not be disturbed. And here we have another site plan for the structure. You can see that they do intend to have electricity and plumbing to the structure. Overall, staff recommends approval of the minimum lot width requirement to Chapter 804 based on the findings of fact and subject to the Monroe County Highway Department and Stormwater Engineer reports. I will now take any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Drew, would you pull up the site plan again?
This one?
So, okay, the house is to the west, and then the building is just east of it, correct?
That is correct.
So then, what is the 8x8 structure? Is this a separate structure at the bottom of this? If you go to the next, yeah, what's the 8x8?
That's a zoom in or a cutout of the,
Oh, I see, up at the northwest corner.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? No. Would the petitioner like to speak? Okay, you don't have to. Anyone here wish to speak on behalf of the petition? Seeing none, anyone here wish to speak against the petition? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
In the matter of case number 2001-VAR-06, I move that we approve the minimum lot width requirement to Chapter 804 based on the findings of fact and subject to the Monroe County Highway Department and Stormwater Engineer reports.
I second the motion. You want to call roll, Larry?
Okay, the vote is on petition number 2001 or 2001-VR-06, the grade minimum lot width variance. Vote in favor is a vote to approve the variance based upon the findings with the development review conditions of the Monroe County Highway Department and the stormwater staff. Again, a vote in favor is a vote to grant the variance. Bertie Garitas?
Yes.
William Hosea?
Yes.
Mary Beth Kamarchik?
Yes.
Margaret Clemens?
Yes.
The variance is granted 4-0.
Thank you. You have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next up, we have case number 2001-VAR-07. Tammy?
All right. This property, let's see, so it's the Smith and Kelly minimum lot size variance. Oh, my mic wasn't on, sorry. This is the Smith and Kelly minimum lot size variance from Chapter 804. It is located at 4405 North Bramble Road. This is a little small segment right off of Trail Ridge Road in the Bittersweet subdivision. It's in township, the Bloomington Township, section 24. Comprehensive plan has it as farm and forest. And the zoning here is conservation residential. And it is also in the environmental constraints overlay area 3 of the Griffey Lake watershed. So the conservation residential zoning district requires a 2.5 acre minimum lot size unless you're in a platted subdivision. That language was added in 2015. So a lot of the lots that are surrounding this property are in a platted subdivision. This one is not. And so it's here asking for this variance request from the minimum lot size. It is 1.03 acres in size. So it doesn't quite even meet the standards to issue a waiver. The lot width is 182 feet, which is just enough to issue a waiver. So if this variance is granted this evening, then we can issue an administrative waiver for the minimum lot width. As long as you're within that 10% range of the 200-foot requirement. This is 182. They need 180 to do that. We're going to go that route and skip the findings of facts. This is the slope map. So disturbing vegetation and soil in the Griffey watershed is on 18% slopes. The county adopted in 2015 the more restrictive 15% slope for where structures can be located. And so this lot does have some buildable area available to put structures and a septic system and a detached garage, which is what the petitioner's proposing for this site. Some of the site photos, the top one is where their driveway entrance is going to be. They purchased a small sliver of easement so that their driveway could go in where it's not as steep, a sloped area. The bottom picture is of that little short segment, Bramble Drive, which now has a street sign. The upper picture is, I'm kind of standing in the center of the lot looking uphill, and you can see the neighboring house that's just to the north kind of in the left-hand side of the picture. And then I turned around and was facing downhill, and you can see that there's a little creek that kind of makes a backward C shape in the background there. And that is a tributary of Griffey Creek. It is considered an ephemeral creek, not a perennial one, so it's not as heavily regulated under our Chapter 825 standards. This is an aerial shot. The site is currently forested, and you can see the surrounding subdivision, developed houses around it. The petitioner has expressed interest in keeping as many trees as possible when they're putting their development in. And this is the petitioner's letter. And then they provided a very nice engineered site plan from Deckard Land Surveying. And in it, you'll see kind of shaded in gray there, those are slopes at that higher restricted amount of 15% that cannot be built upon. And then we also see that there's the proposed house is roughly 40 by 50. That includes any of the porches that they were wanting to add on the back. The septic system is sized appropriately to scale, and then there's the detached garage to the north there. And you can see that their driveway cuts across the lot to the north, lot 13 of the Bittersweet subdivision, and has that little bit of easement there. Just looking at the surrounding area, I kind of looked at a 1/4 square mile radius from the petition site, and about 70% of the lots don't meet minimum lot size requirements. A bulk of those are in that Bittersweet subdivision, and this is the plat. So in the red circle there, that's where you would see where the petitioner site is. It was not included in this subdivision. That was back in 1981. We would not create a subdivision like this today. We would meet minimum lot size of the zoning district, and at a minimum have a whole acre of buildable area lot. So, but these lots exist, and, we allow them to develop, conservatively. So in the packet, you will see that there are 4 remonstrance letters. And so I just wanted to make note that we have had several discussions with neighbors in that little community there, and kind of explained the petition to them and let them see the site plan. And I believe some of them are here today that may want to speak about this petition. So hopefully you had a chance to read their letters. So with that, staff recommends motion of approving the design standards variance to the minimum lot size standard in Chapter 804 of the Monroe County Zoning Ordinance based on the findings of facts.
Any questions for staff?
No.
Okay. Would the petitioner like to speak?
Yes.
Kelena? Would you sign in, please?
Yes. Hi, I'm Susan Kelly.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Tammy, for all your work. I really appreciate it. And thanks, folks, for being out tonight. I'm speaking primarily because the letters the neighbors wrote. And after sitting through one of the earlier petitions, when I was listening to neighbors be in such difficult situations, I would never want to be in that situation myself. Are you willing, if you control the clicker, to go to the picture that's the wooded the lot with the sort of purple or violet color? There it is. As you can, and I do want to ask, are Denise and Jerry here? Yes. Hi, nice to meet you. We had a chance to speak to them on the phone, which was nice. You can see that it's a wooded lot, which is part of the beauty of why we purchased it back in 2006. And what we were aspiring to when we purchased it was to eventually, when we retire, have a lifestyle shift where we had a little more land, a lot of trees, and the architect we're working with, he has strict instructions to make nature part of the home, right? Where when we look out all we see are trees, and ideally, no offense, neighbors, if we look behind us, we wouldn't see any houses, right? Or we'd be so quiet in nature. And I think after talking with Denise and Jerry, it sounds like one of the neighbors has almost clear-cut their land, and I think there's probably quite a bit of fear about that happening with us. And our goal would only be to be stewards of the land, to honor that we're so close to Griffey, which is one of the great reasons for living there, and to enjoy being part of that neighborhood, which I'm sure is a very tight-knit community. And we have that now where we live. We're in Park Ridge East, and we're very close with our neighbors. We love them dearly. And we would hope by moving into this intimate, small neighborhood in a wooded lot that we could actually have that experience again. So that's what we're after, that kind of peace and quiet and wooded experience. So thank you. Anything else, husband? Okay.
Any questions for the petitioner?
Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thanks.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak on behalf of this petition? Would anybody like to speak against this petition? Step on up to the podium, please. Could you raise your right hand?
I'm Denise Malieri.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we did have a chance to speak to these people, and in talking with Susan and David, they seem like very lovely people, and I'm sure they would be wonderful neighbors. Some of our concerns, though, as a neighborhood, and we wanted to bring this to you since we suppose that as a planning department, your concern is about what happens to the overall picture. So we have, in addition to the 4 letters that you have, we have another neighbor that submitted a letter just yesterday.
You can start passing it that way.
We also have 7 different neighbors that have contacted me that were unable to be here this evening. And if I need to put together a list of those people, I could easily submit that also. In looking at the rules of procedure for the BZA, Article 7, powers and duties say, no variance in application of the development standards of this ordinance shall be made by the board relating to buildings, land, or premises now existing or to be constructed unless, after a public hearing, the board shall determine in writing the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. My husband and I, Jerry, back there, we live in the property directly north of this property that's under consideration. We all of us significantly drop, our properties drop from Trail Ridge Road. So on days when there's any kind of heavy rain, we have a very heavy stream that comes through our yard. We've had to put in a French drain and a lot of rocks to try to keep it from just totally eroding our yard. But this also is going to flow into this lot because they're lower than we are. If it's possible to call up the site plan, please. So you can see the areas where the slope, I think Tammy said it was 18%. I'm kind of surprised by that because all the pictures, it's hard to get the degree of steepness, but it is very steep. And we're very concerned because as you look at this plan, down the left side of it, where there is a significant slope, in heavy rains, that becomes a creek. On the south border of this, there is a significant drop, and I have a picture here for you to see of the creek that is flowing all the time. This is without any rain that's happened. This was taken on Sunday when it was bright and sunny. But you can see that it's a significant creek, and that runs down to Lake Griffey. And the watershed is certainly impacted by that. So our concern with having a heavily wooded lot is that I've built a house before. I don't know how many of you have had that wonderful opportunity, but most contractors, I can appreciate the architects are interested in saving trees, and certainly Susan and David, I believe them when they say they want to save trees. But I also know, having worked with contractors, that trees are a nuisance to them, and it just slows down them meeting deadlines. So what often happens is that things get removed or demolished, and then it's, oh, I'm sorry about that. So when you look at heavy trees and you see the silt fences that are there, I'm assuming that that would help to protect some of the soil erosion, but it's not going to stop the water that's going to be flowing into that creek anytime we have a heavy rain. The other concern we have, and I think before we were aware of all of this, that perhaps the site plan has even been requested to be changed. But if you notice there, the septic system is now being located directly above this creek that you just saw in that picture. And so our question about that is, I've been told by the Parks and Recreation Department representative that oftentimes a septic is put north of the building, the home that's being built, so that if there's any failure to that, it will be recognized more easily than just having poor water running into Lake Griffey. These are the concerns that I have, in addition to, the fact that the wildlife that we all love and see in this wooded area is going to be displaced. And certainly, when you look at a 2,000 square foot home, a garage that's about half or larger of that size, a driveway, and a septic system, there's going to have to be a number of trees that are removed from it. So I'm asking that you deny this request for a variance.
Thank you. Any questions for the,
I have, I think, one. Ma'am?
excuse me, ma'am?
Ma'am?
Yes.
The photo on your iPad or your digital device, where is that, the drop off on the property map we have up on the screen right now?
I don't see it on there, so honestly, I don't know. Perhaps Tammy is aware of that. But I know that the creek is at the bottom where it all drops down, and then it goes back up the other side.
So essentially that's just a picture of the creek, or
Yeah,
where it drops.
I just wanted
Okay.
you to see the size of the creek.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah.
Could we have you email the staff a copy of that picture? Certainly. Because that should be in the record.
Yes.
Thank you.
To Tammy?
I don't understand that creek is. I just don't understand on that map.
Right, let me show two different diagrams. So in this diagram, this is the zoning map.
Yes.
And the red is the petitioner's lot.
Yes.
And to the north of that, you're gonna see Griffey Creek, a perennial stream. And that's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
It's not registering on here because it's of a smaller magnitude.
I see.
The slope map here, maybe at the bottom left corner there where it's really kind of red,
Yes.
that is where I think that ephemeral stream is meandering. And
I
that's
see.
what they're just talking. And we do know that, our property lines are not perfect, but, and I have that photo. I also took a photo while I was there and noted that it was a significant creek. It does have, I'm sure, water running through it on the right days. So, yeah, I think it's that.
Water all the time. It just has a lot of water when it's heavy rains.
It appears that all the houses drain that direction. I may be wrong about that, but at least up from the road, coming
Yeah,
back to the
there's
south.
3 houses that would drain into the same erosion problems that come into our yard. We're the lowest. And this lot will be lower than ours.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak against the petition? Thank you.
Pen's gone. I'm Stephanie Kane. Good
Could you
evening,
sign in,
everybody.
please?
There's no pen anymore. No problem.
Could you state your name, please?
Stephanie Kane.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Thank you.
Okay. So first I'd like to speak to this ephemeral creek that comes up, because I'm the neighbor next door, right across that alleyway that is now called Bramble something. And the creek goes through my property. My property, I have a 3 1/4 acre property that goes down to the creek and comes up the side of the hill. And that creek comes off 45, all the water coming off the big road there, comes down the hill, down Russell Road, down that hill that sort of parallels that Bittersweet, comes down off there, into that creek under the road, and goes under Bramble Drive. And where it goes under, there's a big culvert that was built, and then it goes into the property we're talking about. And whenever it rains, that creek fills up. And when it rains hard, that creek fills up and backs up. And it's been doing that more. We've been getting stronger storms. And I've noticed that the terrain at the bottom of my property is becoming more of a wetland than a little forest hollow with a creek. So the creek is significant, and yes, it does dry when we have droughts and we don't have rain for a long time. Okay, so I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to speak, and Tammy for all your hard work, and the people who want to live there. I would love to have them as neighbors if they would buy a house that already existed. I want to talk a little bit about how I think we got to this place where we're a bunch of neighbors who are very concerned about not taking down the trees and not having more incursions on the forest. I can see how there's historical precedent on the zoning board for letting people build so that they can have happy lives and do the things that they want as long as it's safe. But I think we're at this moment in Bloomington where I think we're right on the edge of some serious development. The hospital's moving in at pretty much near the bypass, right? We're on the back end, so if Griffey's down here and you draw a circle around it, we're right on the edge of that area. There's gonna be a lot of pressure to build. And the sort of culture of giving people variances when they ask for them, as long as they're not doing anything terrible, I think is fine on an individual basis. But I don't think we can do it anymore. Because what'll happen is it'll just turn into a big, like every other place. We'll lose Griffey, which is not only something that we care about because it's an environment for people, trees, and animals, but it's also our secondary water source in Bloomington. It's important that we don't little by little get a little more pollution in there. I think, so I guess what I'm asking is that we change.
Pause for the bell.
Oh, pause for the bell.
We do that because it's a little hard to talk over.
Okay, so I don't know, maybe I said enough. I think that may have been the end. I want us to think of this not individually, piece by piece, but rather as, a precedent. And so I just read in the paper that the code is is 20 years old and you're about to spend a whole lot of money bringing in people to tell you have a new code. But if we're letting the code just go every time somebody asks, what's the point of that? And what's going to happen with the next code? Are you going to be more protective or less protective than Griffey? So my first encounter with this code variance situation makes me really kind of nervous about the future.
We really are requesting citizen involvement in our code revision, and please be active, because this will set the precedent for the building for the next 20 years in and around Monroe County. So please be actively involved in the code generation and review.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm glad that, well, one thing that's good out of this is that I'm now paying attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak against the petition? Come on up. Please state your name.
Melissa Baga.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I just want to say first, this is nothing personal at all to these lovely people. If this does end up happening, I certainly want to be a good neighbor to them. I just want to share with you that I am a licensed landscape architect. I work for Indiana University. Day in and day out, I am on construction sites. I see what happens with just the process of construction. It's a messy process, no matter how careful you are. My top priority is always to protect the trees and the site as much as possible. And so it's a very difficult task, and it's something that I'm constantly having to remind the contractors and other parties to just be very careful, because once we damage a site, once we remove vegetation that's been holding the soil in place, we see a lot of erosion, and that creates a lot of issues. On a personal note, I live in this neighborhood. I actually grew up in this neighborhood, moved away for 15 years, and then bought a house here about a year ago because of the beauty of the neighborhood and the large trees there and some of the access to nature that you have there. So it's a beloved neighborhood for a lot of us, and a lot of us are here today just concerned about removing more trees, seeing erosion happen, concern, and I don't think the creek is actually on this couple's property. I believe it's slightly south of that, as that map was showing with the red area, but it is within the area that would be concerned for erosion. I mean, erosion can move into that stream down the slope if there is disturbance. So I guess that's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak against this petition? Seeing none, I actually have a question for staff. And that is, what year was the minimum lot size put in?
The current zoning ordinance was adopted in 1997. This was, the bulk of that neighborhood was in 1981 created. So those existing lots, were there. And then we put in our minimum lot size standards. In 2015, we added language to the zoning ordinance to allow for lots that are in platted subdivisions, all those ones in Bittersweet that don't meet minimum lot size. They do not have to come to this board for approval for a minimum lot size variance. Is that what you were wanting to clarify?
I guess point of clarification on that. Okay. At this point, I entertain a motion.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize, this is a variance from minimum lot size.
Right.
What we look at, it's also a pre-existing legal lot of record. It's been here for a long time, probably predates the ordinance as well, as far as we can tell. It wasn't platted, but it was created, and it's been there since before the ordinance was in place. On minimum lot size, we have a lot of these come up before the BZA. And what we always look at is what is the characteristics of the surrounding neighborhood. is it consistent or inconsistent with the lot size of neighboring properties? In this case, this lot's even bigger than the lots directly adjacent to it. But that's what we look for. It would be inappropriate if you have a whole neighborhood full of 2.5 acre lots to allow a lot size for a 1 acre lot, because it would be inconsistent with the characteristics of the neighborhood. And that's why we make this, that's why the recommendation, that's why we base our recommendation on in these cases. They're not asking for a variance from slope. They're meeting the for the slope requirements. It is fairly clear that the stream that was referred to earlier is not on this lot. There may be a very small drainage area on the northwest corner of this lot that goes into the stream, but the stream is actually farther over on the adjacent property. That is the basis for our recommendation. We look at the surrounding neighborhoods. It's a question of compatibility, and to a certain extent, it's a question of fairness and equity.
Thank you, Larry. Can I clarify something? While it's true that the house right immediately in front on Trail Ridge is on a very small plot, I am next door. I have 3¼ acres, but just beyond that, below the proposed lot, is owned by Dr. Doster, who has 60 acres, I believe. The creek flows through his property. So it's true to say that in the subdivision at large, there are a lot of small plots. But they're single plots with the forest behind them. I don't believe there is one double plot in the whole place. Not one house where there's another house behind it and then the forest. So I just wanted to, yeah. Am I mistaken?
On which your house is located is in a platted lot, is that correct?
Yes. And
Okay.
theoretically, I could sell my back thing and let somebody build there, but I wouldn't do that because I don't want the forest to be smaller.
But your actual lot on which your house is located is a lot in the subdivision, and it is, let's see here, what's the size?
Can you point to it on the map up there?
I have a really hard time figuring out, when I look at that, I think the red spot is mine, so I can't really. So
Your platted lot is 0.88 of an acre, is that correct?
I can show them.
well, I just know that I own 3¼ I don't divide it up because I don't think of it that way.
Several lots, basically.
That's her. That one right there is her lot.
In front of the proposed.
No, it's that one.
I see.
And then I think you own that one
And I own the big one behind, yeah.
When we look at these, we look at the platted lots in the neighborhood, not undeveloped large lots that have never been platted.
But there's a reason that they're kept that way. It's because we love the forest, so we leave them undeveloped. But that's part of our lives. I mean, you're looking at an abstract piece of paper that says this is one thing, and I'm saying, you know, this is how we live, right?
She's saying she considers her lot, even though it's platted separately, she considers where she lives to be one lot, even though she hasn't gone through the procedure to get it kind of congealed into one lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't allow you to sell those properties separately?
This is important.
I guess this is the point that we're at, yeah. I mean, I think if it was up to our neighbors and we all got together and decided collectively how to keep the character of the neighborhood what it is, we might decide that. We might not want you to tell us that, but that's essentially how we've decided to live.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are all of the neighbors expressing the same concern about this?
Well, we'll stand up, neighbors.
Is everybody in agreement about speaking against this? Do you all have the same concern?
Yes. I have 10 acres down that driveway that you see. Never park within those 10 acres. See?
I think the point maybe that Larry is trying to make is this is a platted lot that was originally designated as a single-family residential home site lot. Since this was, and correct me if I get...
It's not a platted lot, but it's a lot that existed at the time the ordinance went into effect.
Thank you, yes. It's a lot that existed, because that's where I was going with it. It existed at the time that the ordinance went into effect, so it does have the use for a single-family home. And with what, it's got a driveway permit that's been applied for, it's got a septic permit which has been applied for, and the septic requirements that a petitioner has to go undergo at this point in time are much more stringent than what they were even 10 years ago. And the systems that they're putting in and designing are much better. The placement of the house on that property, when you look at the different slopes and the way the swells and the drainage comes down through there, it looks like it's placed in a responsible manner. It's off of the slope areas that are delineated on the map, and the septic system is back behind it, so it is downhill. There's probably not going to have to be any pump system. If it is, that's permitted, but it does allow gravity to bring the effluent from the home into the septic system. I personally feel that this petition is in order for what the expectations of that property are.
Well, the point is, the question before you is whether this property is entitled to a minimum lot size variance. The question is not whether, there should be development in this area. You could argue that this area should not have been developed in 1981. Especially at these lot size without sewers. I mean, that's another argument as well. But it was, and this lot existed at the same time, it's just not been developed yet. So the question is it appropriate, given the surrounding characteristics of the existing lots where people have houses, apparently successfully have houses, is appropriate?
Can I just provide one other insight for you?
Sure.
Our home, being directly north of this, was built in 1989. The people who built that home bought this lot. And they did that in order to preserve the woods and the fact that it would not be built out. Sadly, the people who then bought the property before we did decided to sell off this lot. And so then we are left with, we didn't have the option because it was already sold by the time we looked at the house, although it was all done in the same year, 2006. So just so you know that at one time, this was all meant to be maintained as woods and the property, but because it was two different deeds, they were able to sell it.
Thank you. Bernie, would you like to make a motion?
In the matter of case number 2001-VAR-07, Design Standards Variance, Chapter 804, Minimum Lot Size Standard at 4405 North Bramble Road, I recommend we approve the design standards variance to the minimum lot size standard in Chapter 804 of the Monroe County Zoning Ordinance based on the findings of facts found in the staff report.
I second the motion.
The motion is on, the vote will be on petition 2001-VR-07, Smith and Kelly minimum lot size variance. The motion is to approve the minimum lot size variance based upon staff findings. Again, a vote in favor is a vote to approve. Bernie Garitas?
Yes.
William Hosea?
Yes.
Mary Beth Kamarchuk?
Yes.
Margaret Clemens?
No.
Okay, the variance is approved 3-1.
Can I add an explanatory comment or no?
Excuse me?
Can I add an explanatory comment?
Sure.
It's based in the findings of fact that were proposed by staff, that I thought that the approval And would actually affect the areas adjacent to the proposed property, and that it would, the approval would promote conditions that are contrary to the environmental constraints. And so that is why I voted against the proposal. And now it carries, is that true?
Carries, yes.
It carries, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and you have been approved. Thank you for coming out. Enjoy your new home. Okay, and are there any reports?
The only report I will say is we are working on developing training and education materials for the Plan Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals. I will be sending out some written materials to all of you in the next day or so that have been prepared by the Indiana Planning Association for members of Plan Commissions and Board of Zoning Appeals. And we probably will be looking at trying to do some formal training sometime in the near future.
Thank you, Larry.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Anything?
No, report tonight.
Motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
I second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.